So, welcome back to this video series here inside of Silo. And as I've always told you, Silo can crash. Silo crashed with me, so I had to redo some things. But let's take a look at the P90 that I have. So I kind of changed the top grip sight point that I was going to use. Barrel's good, everything's good. So this right here is my refined mesh. So inside of Silo, you can do a refined mesh. My refined mesh in here is this guy right here. So this is what my refined one looks like. I can go in here and still do some cleanup. I can go and decimate lines out, and you'll see it doesn't change much of the overall look of my gun. So I like to go back in here and take out things that don't bother the shape. If they bother the shape, then I leave them. So doing your refined mesh in here is actually pretty simple. You just subdivide, hit C to subdivide your model to get it to the level of subdivision that you want to look at it. And I've added the port in here for the casings to come out. And I need to take this out because this wouldn't have a closed off piece. It would be where you could open it and have your shells fall out. So it would be like that. So actually, let me undo that because I can paint this black. That's fine. So, but in reality, it would be open so that the shells could come out, of course. So, all that stuff is good. I've got my mag done. I've got all this stuff done. Everything is kind of smooth the way I want it to be. And this is ready to take over into 3D Coat. So in 3D Coat, I'm going to be unwrapping this model and getting it ready to paint. So unwrapping inside of 3D Coat is actually pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and shut down Silo because I'm done inside of Silo. And let's make sure, yep, that's the smooth one. I did save myself a regular version and a smooth version of my finished model so that I could go back to it if any time if I needed to. So in here, I'm going to bring this in for vertex painting. So I want to go into my vertex. I'm going to go to my vertex painting mode. I'm going to go to my vertex painting mode. Grab the OBJ from out of Silo, and you can see here is my gun inside of here, my medium density polygon version of this, and I'm going to go into my UV room. And that's weird. Let's see what's going on. Let's actually go new, don't save. And so let's open up a per pixel. So it's going to ask me, I'm going to do a 2048 and bring this into paint. It's probably reading it. Let's give it a second. Looks like it might be trying to crash on us, but we'll see. Let's give it a second. I'm going to pause this while this is coming in so you don't sit here looking at this white screen of death. So I'm going to pause this real quick and we'll be right back. Alright, so here we are with our weapon inside of Coat. And I use the auto mapping for Coat just to first, because I didn't have any UVs for this. You got to remember that this had no UVs because this came in from Silo. So the auto mapping on this actually did not do a bad job of auto mapping it. The auto unwrap inside of Coat is actually pretty good. It's pretty decent. And you can see that in the way that my tiles have unwrapped. So it gave me some pretty straight tiles. It tried to get stuff as straight as possible. Some funkiness going on in here. I don't really know what it try to do in here. But let's just go ahead and just for the sake of argument, I want to say that I want to get rid of all the seams So I'm going to say clear all my seams, and I'm going to go back and reseam this myself. So the tools inside of I'm in my UV room, they're pretty simple. I can hold down the shift key and select the loop edge. So boop. And you can see, now that I got that loop edge kind of done, I'm going to go in here and break out individual pieces of this. So there. Every time you see a color change, you're seeing a different UV tile. So what's really nice about this is you can break up a model really quick. So you can see I'm breaking this thing up pretty darn quick right now. And that's okay, that's good, that's good. That looks pretty good. And I like the fact that when you bring this stuff in, you have pieces kind of broken up. Right, so I've got pieces kind of broken up. And I should have named these things, actually. Actually, let's go back and do that. So I'm going to show you what we should have done inside of Silo. So let's open up Silo again. And we'll re-import this once we open this up. But I want to make this a little bit easier for me once I get inside of Coat. So all these pieces are on individual scene groups. So I want to rename these things. So this right here is going to be, let's just say PS90. So PS90. And let's see, what is that? That is the stock. And this right here is the magazine. And this one right here is the barrel. This is why I'm doing this. It doesn't take long to be able to do. So this right here is receiver. And this right here is the handle. Actually, it's the part of the receiver, but you know. And then trigger. So you want to make sure you name things in here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say export scene, and I'm going to save what I have my OBJ that I already had. Yes, I want to replace it. Let's close this, and then let's actually reopen this, and this I can show you how to import this. So I can go here and import. And I want to import because my model is ultimately gonna end up inside of Marmoset or even a video game like an engine like Unreal or CryEngine or Unity or whatever. I'm gonna say for per pixel painting and grab my OBJ, and you'll see that it tells me the square of UV set is too big. It may mean that the UV set is incorrect or tiled too much. So what this is realistically saying is that I don't have any UVs. So I'm going to hit OK, and if I don't have UVs when I first bring my model in, I want to say auto map because I want it to at least automatically map it so that it doesn't crash. If you bring in a model that doesn't have any UVs to it, 3D Coat can crash because it'll keep trying to bring it in, and it'll just basically hammer your CPU and just stop working. So I'm going to hit OK and let it auto pack them. So it's attempting to pack it, and you'll see it doesn't take long. It throws down my model. I'm going to go into my UV room and look at it, and you can see those are the automatic mappings that it did. Like I say, they're not bad, they're not horrible, but I want to move things around. I don't like what it's done. I really do not like what it did, like right in here. This is kind of horrible, whatever it was doing in here. So I want to go ahead and clear everything and then go back and just remap it ourselves. And you'll see now that my model came in, and it came in correctly. So you can see now I've got these individual pieces that I can turn off and get them in here. And it's all about naming your objects correctly inside of whatever your modeling program is. So even if you're modeling inside of Maya, just make sure you name things before leaving Maya, and it'll bring in layers and it'll bring in objects like correctly. So I'm just going to turn on everything just for a second. So I'm going to turn everything on. And I'm going to go in here and say I want to clear all my seams. And now I can turn things off. I'm going to do the easiest stuff first. So I'll do the handle first because I think that's pretty easy. And like I said, I've got this where I can look at the whole thing. Don't worry about the color that's applied to it. The color is mapped on it. It's actually mapped on it automatically. So every time you change a UV seam, you'll see it maps a new color. So that's how that works. And the colors don't mean anything. They're just the way that it's just showing how this is broken up, honestly. So I'm going to go through here. Let's get that. Let's say that's going to be one piece. And you can see over here in my preview, in my UV preview window in the bottom right, it's going to show me what that UV is going to look like as I move my mouse over that UV and look at it. So that's pretty helpful, actually. And I'm going to break this UV down a little bit. I don't like how long that goes. So say like boom. So those are smaller pieces. And I like how that looks. I'm going to break this out by itself. So I'm going to go all the way around it. And that should be broken out by itself. Yeah, that's good. And same thing there is good. And once I get that in there, okay, that's all good. So that's kind of laid out the way I want it. I'm going to come in here. And if you don't want to get a whole like loop edge, you can just click on an edge, and you can see if you click on edges, it doesn't select the whole loop edge. It actually just cuts out pieces of it. That's what I'm kind of doing right here, kind of nibbling on this. And I want to get this kind of by itself. And you'll see that. Yeah, see that? I like that. So that's broken out by itself. And let's undo that. I'm going to come here and break this out by itself. And performance in here is actually pretty good. Might be giving me a little, some issues just because I've got a lot of stuff loaded up in here. So make sure what did I do over here? Okay, I didn't go to the outside ring. I went here on the inside ring. So that right there, and that right there, and that right there. It does a really good job of finding the loops that you've made, so that's always cool. And if you get lines added, you can always hold down Control and click over that line, and it will take those lines away, which I really like. So, well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep. No, I think that's good. I think I want the whole side of it, and that looks good like that, and so does that. And so does that. It could be. I could go in here and break this down a little bit more, just because it's really tight in here, and it's gonna be hard to get some stuff. But that's okay. I think I'm good with that. So let's hide the handle. Let's go for the trigger. The trigger is going to be really easy to unwrap. It's going to be super easy to unwrap the trigger. And let's do it like that. So that side, that side, that side, and that side. And then let's break the trigger. Let's break it right here. And break the top off. And then break off this bottom. So now the trigger is by itself and it's pretty flat. That was cool. It was easy. So let's do the receiver. Receiver is going to take a little bit more time, but still it won't be that bad. So there's a good loop around. There's a good loop. There's a good loop. And there's a good loop. So there's one right there, and let's do the same thing back here. So boom. So you can see, the thing I like about Coat is that you can see and visualize where your lines are going to break down at. like realistically, very quickly, you can see how you're going to break up a model and be able to do it to it very, very quick and be done. Like that's the whole thing, right? Getting done super quick. And let's even say like you're here. So that's going to break away from that. And I go here and hit control and get rid of that little edge right there. Get rid of this edge. And if you've ever unwrapped before and you're like blown away right now of how quickly I'm unwrapping this, you should be, because unwrapping inside of Coat is amazing. And if I don't want a whole line, I can hold Control and Shift and get rid of that line, and now that's what's going to unwrap for me. And then I'll unwrap this separately. I don't want this broken out. That's gone by itself. That's cool. Top part's good. That part's good. That's two separate colors, so yeah, that's good too. This bottom part down here, it looks like it's nice. So that piece is unwrapped. So let's unwrap the barrel now. Yeah, I know, you can't believe like how quickly the pieces are unwrapping, right? It's ridiculously stupid quick. So you can see by just doing those 2 clicks, I've told it that I want it to cut it here and then cut it down the center. And let's break these guys out by themselves because we can, and because it's quick to do so. And you can see I'm unwrapping this thing in 3 dimensions. And this makes it really super easy. And all this stuff is, like I say, it's all being unwrapped. Well, okay, I should take that back. It's not being unwrapped right now, but the seams of where it will unwrap are being laid down. And that's kind of all you need. You run all the way around here. I'm going to make it unwrap right on that line. So it'll split it open right there. And you'll see when I mouse over it, splits over it, and you can see the preview for it. I might split it into 2 pieces just to make it a little bit cleaner for itself. Yeah, let's do that. And then let's kind of break down these just a little bit more, just so we have, you know, a little bit cleaner. So you can see how to break this down, either super, super clean, or, go completely out there with it, or whatever you're doing. And I think that's enough for the barrel. Let's say magazine. So now we unwrap the magazine. This won't take long. The magazine's not that hard. So top and bottom. And let's go for the front. And we're doing it. And we're walking. That's working out by itself. I want to take that away and just make the front flat like that. So that's cool. So let's break these out by themselves. Really, it takes longer to turn than it does to actually unwrap, which is sick. Alright, it's like ridiculously sick, quick, fast stuff that I'm doing here. So that's all unwrapped now. Well, seams are marked rather. Like I said, I need to quit using that as a. It's almost like it's a misnomer, because it's not really unwrapping it yet. It's just laying it flat to tell it what will unwrap once I click on the unwrapping button. But when that happens, so does the magic. And let's break this down the center, just so it makes sense. So that's good. And then let's do the stock. The stock's going to be like 2 seconds. So the stock is pretty simple. So let's do it here, and one right there for good measure, so that it breaks this apart, just like that. And let's actually, yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that. And let's say the gun itself. So this is the part that's going to be pretty quick. No, maybe. Let's see. Let's see what our lines on our model tell us. So I think this is actually a good seam point right here. I wish this were not green, because it's really hard to see. Now it's not green. So let's see. I want to, let's say that I go this way with it. I want to do it like this. So right there, and I want to give a seam line right to the center of these. So I want to break that up just like that, and break that off like that, and this one off like this. And you know what? That's fine. I'm fine with that. So break that out by itself, so that's different color. And that's there. So you can see, as I'm saying, marking my seams is a relatively simple process. There's not a lot to it. You just mark them and go. And as I'm marking them, you can see my model really starting to come together, or apart, as it were. So if I move things around, you can see I'm looking for stuff really quick to make sure that things are going to break up the way I would like them to. That looks good. And that looks like a hot mess. So that now looks okay. I'm actually going to break it down just a little bit more. Just like that. Continue this. Strip it out. That looks good. I like the way that looks. I want to look at my pieces and make sure they're not, stretching. And that's what the red shows. So when I'm looking at my map, you'll look and you'll see there's like this red that shows up. The more red, the more stretching, right? So that's cool. And let's cut this somewhere so that it lays flat. And that's fine. Let's look inside of here. That same weirdness. So that on that side and that on that side. And let's cut it right. Let's actually cut it down the center and on either side of it. So undo that one. Let's cut it on either side of it too. So there, it lays out completely flat like that. So I'm going to do the same thing in here. I'm actually going to cut the center line. And yeah, that breaks it out really good. I like that. This looks okay, but I'm just going to break this out by itself right down this center piece. Actually, let's do that one because that's already looped correctly. And that looks pretty darn good. Let's mouse over pieces and see if things need to be broken down even more. They can be. That looks better. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Mousing over this. Looks good. Looks good. Good. Now the cool thing is this is gonna break this apart and pack it for us too. So, it's gonna be really nice. It's gonna be nice. So that's done. So everything is pretty much done. That's pretty much the whole entire gun. That did not take very long to do. I know it didn't. So I'm going to come in here now and I'm just going to come in here and tell it to unwrap. So I'm going to say unwrap and give 3D Max, 3D Max. Give 3D Coat some time to think about its life. And you'll see that it's unwrapped. That's it. Everything's unwrapped. I've got some stretching, looks like here. And where's that piece on my model? Yeah, it looks like right here there's some stretching going on. I could go back in here and mark seams and give myself some more seams. Like right in here. Deselect that. Select something else, actually. So I could come in here and actually move around clusters and mark some more seams with this, which I actually might. Let's do this. Let's mark a seam right there and see what that looks like. And let's also get this part of my model right here and get this inner side right here. So the inner part's right here and here. And that's all broken out. That's good, that's good, that's good. Nah, it looks a little bit better. And so now let's go back in here and say unwrap and let it reposition the pieces that it already had kind of in there. And let's see what that looks like, if that looks a little bit better. And I think that does. I like that a lot better. Everything's laid out. Nothing's, really eating up something else. Everything looks clean. Now, the thing you have to do when you're saving your UVs inside of here, you have to come here and say apply UV set. It will tell you that it'll warn you that this operation cannot be undone, and do you want to continue? And you want to say yes, you do. So I'm gonna hit OK. So now the UV set is being replaced, because before when we came in here there was no UV set at all, and now we have unwrapped our model and we've saved a UV set. So now that I've saved the UV set, I actually have UVs that I can go paint. So let's look at my tweak room and see. That's not bad. Got 105,000 tries, looks like. It's not too bad for this model. It's pretty high resolution gun model. I need to make sure that this is a two-sided shader when I do this, because it will not show the inside if I didn't do that. And I'm going to go paint,